You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do today? Amber tries to keep Scott in check while he gets a little too fired up about mental health after watching Ezra in today's supersized podcast. Calm down, son, it's just a movie. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Alrighty, well, today's episode is about Ezra. A touching portrait of family and friendship, Ezra follows Max Bernal, a comedian living with his father while struggling to co-parent his autistic son Ezra with his ex-wife. When forced to confront difficult decisions about their son's future, Max and Ezra embark on a cross-country road trip that has a transcendent impact on both their lives. So I know you have lots of opinions on this, so why don't you start, Scott?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hang on to your hats, guys. We may be here for a minute.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
So we like to answer the question, what would you do on this show? And for 85% of the movie, I'm going to tell you what would you do when asked to me would be pretty close to the opposite of what the characters actually did.
The characters or the dad?
Oh, most of the characters, actually.
Okay.
There was about...
So what did they do and what would you do?
There was about one sane one in there, maybe two. And sadly, I'm counting Nick as one of the two.
Nick was a wacky best friend.
Yeah, he was the wacky best friend that everyone was apologizing for, yet I think he was one of the more sane ones. Okay, so Max is Ezra's dad. Ezra is autistic. We're not a movie review show, so we're not going to go there so much on the whole thing. Ezra overheard Bruce, which is his mom's boyfriend, jokingly say that he was going to have Max taken care of because Max is being a real pain in the ass.
Taken care of as in, like, I'm going to have him killed.
Yeah. He was being a real pain in the ass as it pertained to Ezra's
everything
care. I mean, he really was. Like,
yeah, he was high maintenance.
Max is portrayed as this guy who's being noble and he's doing right by his kid. And that's bullshit. How many times, I literally lost count of how many times he said, I want. Everything, he made it sound like it was about Ezra, but that style of parent, it's not about them, or it's not about their kid, it's about them.
Okay. So why don't we get into some examples here of what the characters did and what you would have done? Because I know that... You know, I saw a lot of expressions on your face throughout the film. So let's dig into some specifics here for our audience.
Sure. So this kind of builds on the theme I had near the end of the last episode where I was discussing mental health, because autism very much falls within that spectrum of mental health. And I'm sorry, some of this is going to be what would you do? Some of this is going to be Scott climbing up on his soapbox. So people like to demonize our medical system in general.
The United States medical system.
I mean, the concept of Western medicine.
Okay.
In general. Use of pills and uses of special schools and things like that. And you know what? These things exist because they're good. I'm sorry. I know people love their little conspiracy theories about the pharmaceutical companies doing their thing to keep people in line. No, listen, the pharmaceutical companies, they make plenty of money. They do fine. We're not going to go into the economics of it. Like, if we want to demonize something, we can maybe demonize them from an economic perspective. But from a producing drugs that do things that are positive for people in society.
Okay, and to be clear here, we're talking about the drugs that the doctor wanted to put Ezra on for his autism. It
was two parts. It was the fact that at first they wanted Ezra to go to a special school.
So he was in a public school. He had a couple of instances where he riled the kids up. One time where he took them outside of the school onto the street, and they were discussing expelling him and sending him to a school for special needs children.
Listen, Ezra in of himself is not necessarily a danger to himself, but in the wrong situation, he can be. And that wrong situation is when you put somebody who is as autistic as Ezra was in a public school that doesn't know how to deal with it.
Right. And this conversation came about when he did rile up all the kids, and they were concerned about Ezra's safety as well as his classmates. And then the conversation happened about going to a special needs school and also looking at medication options for Ezra.
And you can...
So what would you do?
Well, you could say all you want. Well, the teacher should have done a better job, or administration should have, woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't. I mean, that's what it is. Listen, when you're in public school, you're
what you get.
often dealing with overcrowded classrooms. You're dealing with very underpaid teachers
Who are just trying to keep their head above water with the basic stuff, much less than the more advanced.
You could want all you want, but you're not getting it. That's what it is. Now, just because you go to a special school does not mean that you are permanently in that special school for life and you will never be able to get out of it and never be able to be a part of society. No.
So if you were a school administrator in that situation where they were legitimately concerned about Ezra's safety as well as the other kids in his class, what would that conversation have looked like with you and the parents?
Well, it should not have involved the words expulsion, but
It had something of that level had happened before, so it wasn't a one-off.
well, that's fine. I mean, listen, whether or not
And it didn't start with expulsion.
teachers and administration are able to deal with that, they damn sure better be able to at least identify it and understand, because these kids have files. It's not like, oh, I had no idea he was autistic. Yes, you did. It's in your file. Like,
Yeah, and the parents obviously knew the administrators at the school. This wasn't their first meeting.
Or pay attention to him for 5 minutes and you can tell he's autistic.
So what would you do then if you were one of the school administrators and had Ezra?
They recognized he needed to be in a special place. They didn't have the resources to take care of him the way he needed to, and they recognized he needed to be in somewhere special, which is why that's what they put on the table.
Okay, and is that what you would have done?
If I'd been them,
The school administrator?
hell yeah, that's what I would have done. Now,
Okay.
I would not have gone to them and said, we're going to expel him. There's certain buzzwords you don't.
That
There's certain
happened after the dad kind of went ballistic.
doesn't
and it
matter.
was not a
Well,
productive
no,
meeting.
they said expulsion before the dad went ballistic. It's just that's a trigger word, and you're demonizing the kid when you use words like expulsion. So you just need to say, listen, we are not equipped here. We're just not. We are here to be able to handle people who are more mainstream. And that's not to say your kid's bad. It's not to say anything like that. It's just to say that for your particular instance, we don't have the resources we need to take care of him and teach him the way he needs to be taught. People get special educations to deal with this. We would like to let those trained professionals deal with it. And that's fine, because I know the type of parents like Max, and he still would have objected because he's got his head so far up his ass that, oh, wow, there can't be something wrong with my kid. My kid's got to be in public school. No. What would they think if my kid went to some...
He didn't say there's nothing wrong with my kid. What he said is that they should be accommodating him and realizing that he has special talents and whatnot. And he did recognize that I do believe that Max, the dad, acted like he could almost snap Ezra out of it. Like if he just pushed him enough, like just do it, just get over it. There's no reason you should be like this. But I have to disagree with you there. I don't think he denied that there was something wrong, something different.
Either way, he shouldn't have objected. He shouldn't have objected to the school. And the problem is because I've seen this. When you get into these parenting situations, if you want to make a change, it's got to be unanimous.
What do you mean?
Like in the way the courts work for custody and stuff like that, and arrangements involving if you want to change somebody's schooling or put them on medication or anything like that, in a co-parenting situation, both parents must be on board. If one of the parents is not on board, it doesn't happen.
Well, in the instance of the film, they wound up being able to coerce Max to get on board because when they were having a conversation with the doctor who wanted to put Ezra on drugs, Max, the dad, attacked the doctor,
Yes.
got put in jail, and because of that, then they had leverage over him to say, you got to agree that Ezra gets on drugs and we'll let you out of jail.
Oh, and the doctor, by the way, was the other person I think was saying. No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
That's when I said one or two characters. That's the other one I'm referring to.
So what did you think was wrong with the mom character?
The mom character?
Yeah.
I'm calling the police immediately as soon as I see that Max has taken. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not wait 4 freaking days.
Okay, so what happened, for those who haven't seen the film yet, is Max, the dad, snuck up a fire escape since they lived in an apartment in New York, took Ezra out in the middle of the night and whisked him away. And then the mom wakes up in the morning and there's a note. They have a conversation over the phone, and I think the mom probably gives him a little bit too much leeway to get over whatever it is that's happening here, and doesn't want Ezra to go through the trauma of having his dad picked up by the police, him thrown in jail. So she's thinking this situation is going to work itself out. And finally, after 4 days, and Max, the dad, not eventually then moving to a point where he won't accept her calls the police, and the police escalate it to an Amber Alert, and she is very dismayed because she doesn't want Ezra to endure the trauma of her dad getting arrested.
Yeah, and listen, I get maybe your first call is not to the police, your first call is to Max to try to talk some sense into him, but Max broke the law. Like, there's no two ways for it. That's kidnapping. That's a felony. Max goes to jail.
Right, and I think that's probably why she was making the decision she was, because she does know that Max goes to jail. They were trying to co-parent peacefully, and even though they had disagreements, they were still trying to maintain somewhat of a friendly family atmosphere. Once you pull that lever of calling the cops and getting him thrown in jail, then it's kind of hard to go back. I guess I understand that a little bit more.
He pulled the lever as soon as he snuck into the house in the middle of the night.
Max was a hothead. Max was not a likable character. I didn't think most people in this film were likable characters. I didn't particularly enjoy the film, but we're not a movie review show, because I didn't enjoy him because there was nothing redeeming about him. First of all, he was a comedian. Terrible set, terrible jokes. The funniest part of the film was either one where his dad stole a pan that had been stolen from him.
Stole back a pan.
And then at the end where spoiler, where there's an appearance from Jimmy Kimmel. And other than that, there was not one funny joke in that whole thing. And the guy was a comedian.
Okay, I wouldn't say that. There were a few things I chuckled at, but I admit...
What would you do? I would not go and see Max as a comedian.
I probably would not.
What I would do. I would run the other way.
I probably would not either. I don't know. I guess I'm a bit of a hothead because Max thought he knew better than the people who actually do know better. Like, you have got counselors and therapists and doctors, and everybody's online, including the mom, with this is what we need to do. And if he had just gone with a special school to begin with, then they wouldn't have had to get to the point of special school plus drugs. And then if he hadn't violated his restraining order by being a creeper outside of Ezra's school, staring at him while he's in school and trying to discern for himself, oh, my kid must be miserable here. He thought he knew better. And he didn't know shit.
Yeah, I mean, the Max character was so entrenched, and nobody knows what's better for my kid than I do, and showed no effort throughout the entire film to actually kind of learn more and educate himself about options and autism, and just, even the fact there was a scene where, Ezra didn't want to use a fork. And he was like, Mom lets me use plastic. I'm going to hurt myself on silverware. And there was a whole exchange there or whatnot. So, I certainly don't proclaim to have any firsthand experience, as, what it's like to be autistic. I know you know a lot more on this subject than I do, and more than most people do. But his dad didn't show any movement through all of these changes to try and learn more or educate himself. And I guess if he had, there wouldn't be a movie, right?
I actually hated how near the end, essentially, they were desperately trying to portray him.
Him who?
Max in a positive light near the end by Ezra coming around to him and finally hugging him. Here, take the ball, Dad.
Yeah. I mean, this was marketed as an endearing, heartwarming, family story. It's I guess it depends on what your experience is with autism, and folks who have more firsthand knowledge about this film are probably going to view it much differently than those who don't. And that's the good and the bad about entertainment, is sometimes people, they get up on the soapbox about things that they don't know about, and then it takes a more educated audience to sometimes poke holes in what's wrong with that, because they're not doing the proper fact checking along the way. But it was a film that probably was needed in some way to even talk about autism, because we don't see a lot of characters in film who are autistic. So, in that respect, to at least have more exposure towards the topic, maybe that's a good thing.
Oh, that's definitely a good thing. Listen,
but the dad, I had no heartwarming, endearing feelings towards Max.
the portrayal of Ezra was great. Like, that actor,
He was a great kid actor.
like, I don't know if he was completely acting the autism or not, or if he actually has some, but that kid freaking nailed it.
Yeah, he
Now,
was
autism
great.
could look a number of different ways, for sure, depending on how deep on the spectrum you are and what your particular idiosyncrasies happen to be. That kid nailed it. He did a great job. So I appreciate, I appreciate the portrayal of...
Yeah, if it just been a film about Ezra, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Take out the granddad, take out Max the dad, take out all the other people. Just been an experience about Ezra, I think I would have enjoyed it much, much more.
It's just,
He was likable.
I hate when parents try to do things for themselves and put it off as they're trying to do it for their boy or their girl or whatever. It's not. It's selfish. It's super selfish all the way around. And plus, not to mention the fact, can we just talk about one little thing for a second here? There was a certain point when Max realized that, they're fugitives. There's an Amber Alert. He sees him and his son's face on TV. He knows it's out there. In what world did he even slightly think, ooh, I'm still going to be able to make it on Kimmel now? First of all,
He was traveling across country to be able to have a set on the Jimmy Kimmel Show.
Yeah,
So
for-
traveling from New York to California.
I guarantee you, by the time he even gets to Kimmel, someone there has already figured this out.
They hadn't.
Well,
Nothing against this folks at Jimmy Kimmel, but they hadn't figured that out yet before he got arrested.
in real life. In real life.
Who knows?
They're
Who
going to
knows?
figure they're going to figure it out. Like,
They'll probably figure it out once the show airs, and then people start tweeting about, "Hey, isn't that guy who was the Amber Alert? I'm in Wisconsin. Oh, I'm in Minnesota. I'm in Texas. I saw." So
they would have figured it out ahead of time. And how does Max not think, "Oh, if I go to Kimmel, I'm literally now going to be telling them
broadcasting myself
exactly
across
where
the
I am."
country. Yeah.
Like,
That definitely was a silly gape in the storyline. Is like, oh yes, I'm a fugitive. The FBI is looking for me, but I'm gonna be broadcast on the Jimmy Kimmel Show,
Well,
and it's gonna turn out well.
to take a quote from the movie and a word that Robert De Niro's character, Papa,
The grandpa.
didn't know you weren't supposed to say, it's fucking retarded that he would think that he could actually. But that's a joke from the movie, guys. I'm not.
Yeah,
You have to see the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, don't try to cancel me. There's a retarded joke in there.
the grandfather said that word, and Max said you're not supposed to.
Exactly.
That's what Scott's alluding to.
But like, Max put himself in all of that because he was selfish. And even at a certain point, he's like, I want Kimmel. I've got to drag my boy to Los Angeles now because I need my good luck charm. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, the whole.
Okay, I apparently am going to have to enable this one
Yeah.
explicit as well.
Yeah. It's gonna take you a while to wind down from this film. Yeah, I mean the dad, the whole thing about the kid being his good luck charm, that was incredibly selfish. Like, it's the middle of the night, the kid keeps saying he wants to go home. All along the trip he wants to go home. The dad's making him sleep in the car. The kid says he wants to go home. But he's like, oh, I need you, kiddo. And it's like, yeah, the dad was not a good dad. There was nothing heartwarming or endearing in this film to me. And if you want to know what I would do, I would just give Ezra his own film and cut out Robert De Niro, cut out the Bobby Cannelly or however you say his name, and just learn more about Ezra and autism. I think that would have been a really superior film.
Pop was a fine character. He just had tons of issues, like you could tell, and that's the whole thing.
And that was Max's dad, Robert De Niro.
It's very clear that there was a long line of untreated mental health from Pop to Max. Max has lots of rage issues. Dude had lots of mental health issues himself.
Oh, he couldn't control himself, as evidenced by, getting up and screaming at the principal and then hitting the doctor. He was not likable, and not likable in an enjoyable way. It's just like, and he was the majority of the film.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, this is one of those films where some people at the end might have been a little teary-eyed. Oh, he finally made it and everything. No, there was no part of that. Like, I was just rooting for Max to get arrested quicker. Like, I didn't even want him to get in the studio. The fact that he even made it to the studio, I felt was more triumph than he deserved.
It was a hit to the gut.
It was. And at the end, no, we're just a family now. It's me and the dad and grandpa and it's everything. Bitch, there was a restraining order that got put out against him to Ezra, and that wasn't because of you. That was because of the courts. The courts said he can't be near. Not you.
Well,
you don't take precedent over a judge. You're not.
She was trying to diffuse the situation because obviously her goal all along was for Ezra not to be traumatized to see her dad arrested or have any sort of encounter with the cops. So she was trying to diffuse it for Ezra's sake. I do get that.
Well, that is a day late and a dollar short at that point.
So this has been an episode where you clearly don't have opinions. It would have been really great if you had chimed in with some thoughts on this.
Also, I'm going to have opinions on things that happen after the movie. And by after the movie, I mean when the credits started. The credits started, and then they have a scene of Jimmy Kimmel going into Max.
Who's actually the real Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, it was the real Jimmy Kimmel. Like, last time we had him here, he got arrested. Why are you having him back? Why? Why are you having him back? Because he was a great guy for getting arrested and kidnapping his son?
Well, and he did mock the reason of why he had to leave last time. He goes, last time you had to leave or you had a problem because you were rescued your son from school. Rescued your son from school was the story that Max had been peddling to Kimmel as he had to rescue his son from school.
Like, was Kimmel that hard up for comedians? That oh God!
It.
I mean, there's no other comedians here in Los Angeles whatsoever. Let's get this freaking guy who, I mean, he had to have gotten at least a felony of some form. I mean, there was unquestionable what he did was,
and he had an ankle bracelet earlier in the film, so I mean, there were repercussions from his road trip.
Yes.
I mean, all around, I think, if we were a movie review show, we would give this two thumbs down from you and 2 thumbs down from me. It was not a great film. And it's unfortunate because, I think Ezra was a compelling character. No. The topic of autism was, I think, desperately needed in the space.
Let me be clear here. I didn't hate the movie. I actually liked the movie.
See, I disliked the dad so much that it made me dislike the movie because I just didn't enjoy seeing him, and he was most of the movie. So it was clear. It was clear to me that the person who wrote this film very strongly identified with Max. There was something from his past. Well, and I think Tony Goldwyn wrote this film. I don't know if that's part of the bigger Goldwyns or whatever, and if there's going to be people coming in here to shut us up if you talk about the Goldwyns, but. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the character Max was just so unlikable that I didn't enjoy the film because he was just so intense.
Tony Goldwyn was
I thought he was the writer.
But he's also the lawyer, the boyfriend.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Oh, that would be even funnier if that's actually true. If the character who played Jenna, the mom's boyfriend, was actually the writer, he cast himself...
Director Tony Goldwyn. I'm sorry, my mistake. The writer was Tony Spiridakis. Tony Goldwyn was the director.
Okay, so
and he also was. You're correct. He was the boyfriend of the mom.
Gotcha. Okay, so he didn't.
Yeah. My mistake.
Yeah. There was something very personal to him about that, and I kind of want to poke into that a little bit and see if I can figure it out. Like, you don't write something like this without it being personal.
Also, to be clear, I wasn't insinuating that Tony Goldwyn was associated with the mob. Just so we're clear, I'm just saying when you start bad-mouthing anyone that has to do with Hollywood dynasty and movie-making magic, it was a bad joke.
I didn't actually think about that, but yeah.
They are a dynasty for sure.
Oh, I didn't realize he was actually part of the family.
I could be full of that too. I
don't
could
know.
have completely gone off the rails.
Oh, no, you're probably right. You're usually more right on stuff like this than I am.
I don't know. I guess I kind of assume because it's not really a common name.
Okay. I'm going to give my wrap on this because I'm probably going to have to go back and edit some of this to keep it under some length, but this is probably going to be one of our longer episodes. Guys, you don't know mental health better than your doctors and counselors and therapists do. Unless you're a doctor, counselor, or therapist yourself, and you've actually gone through the insane amount of schooling and practice that they do, you don't know better. I just want to vomit anytime I hear the phrase, quote, I know what's best for my son, or I know what's best for my kid.
But sometimes that's true. There's been plenty instances in life and in film when really someone says that and they do. I don't know if I'm going to sign on to a blanket veto on that term, because sometimes people do know their kid better than the system.
Oh, they might know their kid better. It's like the people who took issues with COVID and masks and vaccines and stuff like that. I'm sorry. Science beats your feelings. Science beats your opinions. And that's exactly what it is here. You may know your kid, but it was very clear that he didn't know how to parent him. He didn't. And if your parenting had worked that well, you never would have been in that situation to begin with. There's many situations in life you have to let the experts come in and do their thing. And that's just the way it is. And the sooner people understand that, the happier I think people will be in general. So, guys, mental health's a thing. Whether it's autism or one of dozens of other afflictions, it's a thing. Get educated, like really educated. If you're having to deal with somebody that has these issues, don't try to be like, oh, you can just get over it. You can get past it. It's a real thing. Don't be Max. Don't be Max.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.